Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending where you are in this wonderful country of ours. It is today, July the 10th, Friday, Fireside Chat. We took a break last week in celebrations of our 4th of July, but Jack and I are back on our Friday. We decided to halt the discussions which we've had for the last, I don't know, what was it, 12 or 13 weeks with industry franchise brokerage kind of leaders and change the focus for the month of July. We felt that it is very important that we have a discussion which is focused on diversity and the complexity of race in this wonderful country of ours, something which I think we have struggled with for a very, very long time. And it is important enough for T360 to say, we want to make a difference. We want to try and help in our own way. And we decided that we would like to, for 3 weeks in a row, invite the leaders from the National Real Estate Association of Brokers, the Hispanic Association and the Asian Association for 3 weeks in a row, and ask them to give us some comments, some opinions, some guidance, some help, and a look at this complex issue from their eyes. Sometimes I think, sometimes which we don't always appreciate. So we have two gentlemen joining us today. I'm going to quickly just grab a few points from their bio. Firstly, I'm going to say welcome to Donnell Williams. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And Antoine Thompson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Donnell is the broker of record for Destiny Realty in Morristown, New Jersey. He might not know that I actually lived a few miles away from Morristown for a year, the Garden State. So in Morristown, New Jersey, he is currently the president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers for the year 2020. Looking at his bio right in front of me here, he also holds many other memberships and participations and offices. I see here North Central New Jersey Association of Realtors, New Jersey Association of Realtors, member of the Board of Adjusters in Morris, United Developers Council, and has also been involved and was recently chairman of the New Jersey Association of Minority Real Estate Professionals. So very active in the what we call organized real estate world. And I know that that takes up an enormous amount of time, which is for the love of the cause, right? So thank you for that as well. Antoine, a very impressive resume, a graduate, Buffalo, New York, University State of New York, bachelor's in science, went to Ghana, West Africa for some further studies and received also later an honorary doctorate law degree back here in the US. He was a member of the Buffalo Common Council, 201 to 207, and a member of the New York State Senate from 207 to 211, and in 215 became the executive director for the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Very impressive. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. I'm going to kick off with a question that has always struggled with me, or I've struggled with. Jack and I have both been in residential real estate our entire lives. We see no other career. It is our life. And although we did a few other things before we came into this career, we both came into this career at a fairly young age. Is residential real estate brokerage seen as a viable career for African Americans? Do they consider this as a career opportunity or not?
Well, it's a viable career. It can be lucrative. You can be successful. However, I think that most African Americans are challenged by being 100% commission-based business. I think that we already have a wealth gap. We understand it. And to depend on feeding your family and supporting yourself and even getting involved on the elementary level in this business is a cost factor. So it is, it is a challenge. If you're going to be full-time committed, it is a challenge.
So it's what I hear from you, Donnell. There's a financial hurdle. There is a complexity in becoming a real estate professional, because as we know that whether you're black or white or any other race, there is a period of time, usually multiple months, right, in which you are going to either earn nothing or very, 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 very little, and you can't sustain yourself during that period of time.
That is totally correct.
And I think the other thing about it as well is, what a lot of times people don't realize that you can take all of the career training and get all the coaching you want, but you got to have a buyer, you got to have somebody and a seller, right? And you got to have financing. And so some of the built-in institutional things that hurt African Americans in the industry are sometimes beyond their control, meaning that if their folks can't get affordable, sustainable mortgages at the same rate and pace that whites can, that makes it that's an even bigger hurdle for African Americans to be competitive, especially in some of these urban centers now where cash is king or conventional mortgages are preferred over, say, a FHA or VA mortgage. That puts in a further hurdle. So some of these things for African American agents and brokers are very real. They're not perceived. They're extremely real. Then when you talk about marketing dollars, whether you're at a small firm or a big firm, those are other barriers that make it very difficult for African Americans to be competitive and to raise their families in this career. But we are blessed to have an association with thousands of members that have been able to raise their family, second and third generation realtors.
When we spoke earlier, you guys pointed me to your website, which has a huge amount of resources. And I had been there before, but I'd only really been there superficially. So this time I really took a deep dive, and I saw there were downloads, and I downloaded some of the reports, and some of them are 80 pages, right? I printed them out, and I started reading through with a yellow highlighter, and I was trying to go through them and get my hands around some of the numbers. And I was shocked to see that the home ownership rates were so low for African Americans. I mean, I was truly disappointed. I thought, my goodness, and I remember seeing numbers in the low 40s. Is it still in the low 40s?
It is, and if you're disappointed, imagine how we feel. They are our friends. They are our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues. We work with them, we worship with them, we play with them, and yet there's no generational wealth being built. The highest rate that since we've been recording is 2004, and that was 49% for African Americans.
So 1 in 2.
Right. Then it sunk down to 40.6, 40.2, I believe it was the lowest, and then 40.6 as of recently last year, 2019. Third quarter 2019, it went up to 42.7%. And each quarter since August 1st, it has crept up. Okay, and so now we're hovering around the 44% mark. We're not sure what it's going to look like for this quarter, but the numbers will be out, I would imagine, towards the end of June, July.
So obviously creeping up in the right direction. I mean, that's exciting, but I'm sure 44, you're not happy with that number. Where are the two of you hoping that number could get to, I don't know, in the next year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? What's your goal?
We're looking to be above the 50% mark.
Above 50%. And can you point to anything that in the last year or 2 happened that you said that made the difference, that moved the dial? Do you know why it moved up? Is there something which can be repeated?
Well, we like that the interest rates are low. We like that there were some rules out there and regarding down payment assistance. We like the possibilities now of having an African American home ownership program. We are excited about some of the policies that are on the table from our government officials, and we are looking for more progress.
And I would also add to that, the association has been really bold and aggressive in terms of outreach. When Mr. Williams came in the office on August 1st of last year, he declared a war on the decline of home ownership. I think that was a bold statement. I think that resonated in the industry. I think it was a wake-up call for our members. We have also launched a program called Housed in the Car to really focus on Black millennial home ownership, and it's resonating. And I think that a lot of Black buyers have been on the sidelines. There are 1.7 million Black millennials that make over $100,000 a year that are on the sidelines. I mean, they got low debt to income ratios. They make over 100,000. They're living in apartments, living in their family basement or their apartments with their friends. And we have been really working legislatively, programmatically, and to really get that message out. And I think we believe it's working. We fight with FHA and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on a regular basis, making sure that they are staying fair with policies and procedures. That's a never-ending fight. But we think that the consumers are getting that. We have entered partnerships with about 10 or 15 national organizations, and Mr. Williams can share with some of those organizations. So we're trying to take a industry and a community-wide perspective that Black home ownership matters and that you can do it too, and promote affordable, sustainable home ownership. But Mr. Williams can talk about this kind of ground swell of support that we're seeing and momentum that we're seeing in the Beltway and in communities all around the country. But it's got to continue to build, because there's really no reason why, with all the Black people that are mortgage ready, that we shouldn't be over 50% by next year. There's really no reason if we market and outreach to them. Mr. Williams, you want to?
I read a report the other day. It was a Freddie Mac report on African-American home ownership strategies, what have you. There are over right now, today, there are over almost 7 million Black individuals ready to buy a home tomorrow. That's a huge opportunity. So we want to talk about the causes why they haven't purchased yet or what have you. And that could probably be the education, the communication, things like that. So that's why we put some of these programs into play. The housethenthecar.com to focus on the 1.7 million Black millennials that are ready to purchase right tomorrow, mortgage ready. Okay, housethenthecar.com. You can go there. You can take your pre-purchase counseling class online, use that certificate for down payment assistance. You can fill in your online budget. You can find a mortgage. You can find out your FICO score, your estimator is there, your FICO estimator, all of those things to begin the conversation, because the conversations must change in the community. Okay, they have to change. Instead of buying the car first, we're asking you to buy the house, and I guarantee you that the house will then pay for the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's another report out there from Freddie Mac says that, hey, the average age of an African American buying a home is 45 years old. That's a little late. We're a little seasoned there. We're a little late. So we have the real estate opportunities for seasoned individuals, where we talk about reverse mortgage and how to use that product, where we talk about obtaining mortgages, where we talk about wills, trusts, probate, insurance. All of those things are real estate tools that we need to know in our community. And then, of course, the caveat, the creme de la creme, is the Realtist Referral Network. The Realtist Referral Network ties in we begin to connect the dots, as my friend George Frazier says. We connect the dots with all of our civic engagement partners. And right now, we've developed just about an army of these organizations, from Alpha Phi Alpha to the D-Free organization to the Full Fellowship Gospel. It's amazing what we put together, the collaboration.
Jack, I'm sure you were listening there when Donnell said there's, if I remember correctly, 1.7 million people ready, right? Ready and already pre-qualified, ready to go. I mean, that's more than a quarter of what the total sales in the entire country already is. That would create a boom. If those people stepped up, you would have a hot market for the nation. It would be a huge plus.
And that's part of the message, and that's why we're so glad that you have us here, and hopefully some of the lending and real estate executives hear this message, because you're absolutely correct. When the market is there, we have over 1 million young people that got to raise a family, that have the credit, that have the income, but we don't have enough people join with us that see the urgency to say, it's business 101. They have money. There's a market. They have money. We got to go get them to buy, right? And unfortunately, when you look at how so many of these companies are spending their digital marketing dollars and their radio dollars, not enough of them are partnering with us to go after this market, because the market is there. We didn't create the numbers. We know the numbers, but Freddie, a private quasi-government institution, made these numbers available not only to us, but a number of people. So we're saying join forces with us. Let's go get these mortgage-ready people and put them as homeowners, because we know the social economic benefits of them being homeowners. And so we're looking to partner with as many people that are willing to join this movement to increase Black home ownership, for people that are mortgage ready. We're not talking about people that got to go to housing counseling and all that, and they got to fix their credit. We're talking about people that are Freddie and Freddie Mac, that are ready to go. It's just no one's knocking on their door. No, and the good people that we want to work with, we got to get them fired up to go after those people, as Mr. Williams would say.
Well, we know that some of those executives do watch this program, and also are people that we communicate with. I think what you just described is such a market opportunity for the industry and such a collective good. It's a win-win-win. Everybody, we build generational wealth. We close, gaps in income and disparity over time, and it's a win for the real estate community, because now we have more commission dollars in which people can participate. They can build and grow and develop their businesses. So I think that's a huge message, and definitely one we're going to carry into a lot of our conversations with other leaders, because that's a big opportunity right there.
I will help, Antoine, I will help carry that message. I will try and get that out for you as well, and supplement what you're already doing. What can they do? You said they should reach out to the National Association of Real Estate Brokers to join with you. What is it that you tangibly want them to do? What can they do? What should they do?
There are a number of things, but I'll go to Mr. Williams first, and I'll follow up after him.
Well, first, we need to create membership, right? We'd like you to join. And then after that, we'd like you to join our initiatives. This doesn't run on, good faith, hope, and tears. We need sponsorship. We value partnership. And that's what we're looking for, to help move this needle.
The other thing I would add to that as well is that a lot of the companies have state and federal advocacy and policy agendas. Make sure that the policies that you are supporting impact, create the space for affordable, accessible home ownership. We've heard from a lot of CEOs who said that they're opposed to loan level price adjustments, these overlays that are put on mortgages that make it very difficult for even more difficult for Black buyers. We completely agree. We like to see you supporting more marketing and outreach to these populations. Not all of them are reading a Sunday newspaper. Some we got to advertise on Instagram or Facebook. Some we can reach on Black radio. But we want to partner with you on that. The same thing is true as that in terms of getting more African-American underwriters and loan officers and executives on some of your boards and things of that nature. So we want to be a resource to partner with these folks who are already in business and saying, hey, there's a $1.7 million people. If the average property is 300,000 in some communities, that's a lot of opportunity, not just on the origination side, but on the refinance side, the landscapers, painters, movers. That every time a Black person buys a house, there's a ripple effect in the community. And so we love to get you all involved with that. As Mr. Williams said, we can't do it by ourselves. That's why we're excited to be here. And we need more, not just passive partners, but really engaged partners that see the value and want to roll up shoulder to shoulder and say, hey, we'll do a mailing for you to this community. We'll put some information on our social media pages promote housed in the car and Black millennial home ownership. We'll dedicate a staff person to assist you to help build out your digital platform, or we'll help you buy maybe $200,000 in ads to let those millennials. Freddie Mac has done the heavy work for us. We know what communities they are, where they live. We just need help getting to them and educating them and getting them across the finish line. So there are a lot of ways in which people can donate dollars and in-kind services to help this campaign.
Yeah, and Realtist members who are members of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers are already the proven trusted advisors.
Amen.
So there's
and how many members does the association have at the moment?
We're close to the 20,000 mark.
And what do you think would be a good number that it should be? Where would you like to also grow the association numbers to?
I'd like to see it doubled.
Double?
I'd say 100,000, but
ambitious. Okay, but good. I see we got a question in here.
Our members are not just agents and brokers. They're loan officers, originators, title companies, contractors, builders and developers. So, and our members are not just Black. So we have non-people of color that are members. So we'd love to see it go, as Mr. Williams said, 40,000 all the way up to over 100,000.
Now remember, NAREB was not able, Black people were not able to be a part of NAR. They were not able to, up until 1964, I believe the first Black real estate agent was able to be a realtor. So we don't discriminate. We take everybody in, and we always have.
That was one of the things when I went through your site and watched the video on the history of the organization, that's still to me is shocking. It's just like it's kind of, it's one of those like, oh my gosh, this is real. Like we had that level of bias that recently. That was not that long ago. And
not that long ago.
Yeah, it's just
and unfortunately, discrimination in the real estate industry every day, it persists. So we got a lot of work to do. True.
You clearly, but the country as a whole, the ignorance level is high, isn't it? I mean, just oblivious to certain facts or understanding of what it means to be somebody of color. I think people just don't get it. Am I right?
You're right. Unfortunately, you are correct.
And one of the greatest things that we can do in America, African Americans have, throughout the American experience, have desired to be homeowners. Unfortunately, at different points, every time we get on that track, whether it's through sharecropping, whether it's through what happened with the Freedmen's Bank, whether it's happened with the deed issues and stuff like that, to predatory lending, it's always been something. So, but our people have never given up on this dream of home ownership. And so we know that there's a great market opportunity. There will, unfortunately, probably be another 2 generations of kids who, before we really see some change, because we've gone really back this last 5 to 10 years on terms of race in America. So it'll probably take another 2 generations before we get some level of civility as it relates to race. But the fact of the matter is there's a market opportunity, and let's try to strengthen as many families as humanly possible to become homeowners.
You said very wise words there. I lived in Africa in 2 different countries, 2 different opportunities with my parents. And I realized there that the solution to poverty, the solution to homeownership, the solution to race is not a quick fix. It's not a, we'll do it today and it'll be fixed tomorrow, right? It is really, truly a multi-generational activity. But we have to take steps today, although we might not feel we see the results today. If we want our grandkids to have a better life, we've got to do things today. I saw there was a question that popped in from, let me quickly scroll up here. It was from Curtis. He said that sometimes a lot of the money is in commercial real estate and not just necessarily in residential real estate. And of course, we know that commercial and residential very different. Could you share some of the association activities, maybe in other walks of real estate, maybe not just the residential, maybe the commercial side or the retail side?
Well, we just put on a class for commercial agents, resimercial is what we're going to call them. But we just partnered with some folks over at Sperry Van Ness and put on a very, very good class, because we feel that commercial is going to be an opportunity where we can explore. Currently, right now, there are not a lot of Black commercial agents or brokers out there. So we're not in that arena as heavily as we should be. But we are entering in. We are on our way, forging relationships to make sure that we are prosperous as realtors. Another field that most people look over, Jack, is the appraisal field. Now, we have an affiliate called National Society of Real Estate Appraisers, but across the country, there is a shortage of appraisers, Black appraisers, okay, that are able to give our properties the proper value that they need, because our properties basically are being devalued. It's amazing how the lumber from the lumber yard can leave there on 2 different trucks, drive down the same road, make a left on James Street and a right on Martin Luther King, and instantly it's that same lumber is worth $10,000 less.
Wow.
It's amazing. So the devaluation, we're looking to put some folks through our scholarship program, appraisers across the country. So there's plenty of work to do, as my executive director has said. There's plenty of work to do.
And I would also add too, we are going to be standing up a program end of this month promoting more people to go into the real estate profession. And so that's another thing that some of your folks can reach out to us about, because as he indicated, less than 5% of commercial agents in the country are Black. I think it's actually less than 2%. So we have a lot of work. And so I want to commend Mr. Williams for having a first-class training 2 weeks ago for commercial people interested in commercial real estate. I think there were a couple hundred people in that class. That many Black people in a commercial class was phenomenal. And sometimes we don't really acknowledge that, but I want him to know in front of all of you that to have 200 African Americans in a commercial class for 3 days was phenomenal. And we have to continue to do that, because the need for commercial people working at companies, working in government, working for developers, and working for regular brokers, the market, it's serious. The gap there is huge. And so we've got to get people positioned in all these different areas of commercial real estate.
Donnell, Sperry was a good choice. It was a good partner to have, because James Hung, who is with Sperry, is also at the moment the president of the Asian Association. And he will actually be joining us in 2 weeks on the same call to talk about how we can also help the Asian world. So, and he's from Sperry. So good relationship. Yeah.
Tell him I said hello when he's on.
I will absolutely do that. Absolutely do that. Are there any scholarships available in the commercial world to become a commercial agent? Because I mean, that's probably even more complicated than residential.
So on the a couple of the organizations do have some commercial grants. A couple of the organizations we work with do have some. We don't have one in right now on our side, but we did have someone that's providing some significant funding to go on the residential, but we would love to get someone that would like to sponsor people to go on the commercial side as well. Because whether you go on commercial or residential, the startup cost is very significant to get those various licenses.
And I believe Sperry Van Ness Sperry has some scholarship opportunities as well.
Yeah, ICSC has them if they want to go into on the supermarket commercial side. They have some scholarships as well. They have a pretty robust minority program too.
Jack, we've been nominating the call here. I haven't given you a chance. Sorry, my friend. Thoughts on your side?
No, I mean, you've been asking great questions, Stefan. So I usually just let you run when you're on, or when you're on. And these two gentlemen have really dropped a lot of knowledge today. So I've taken about 3 pages of notes already. I hope you're not hearing me lacking away over here. But you know, I think this purpose of this is to listen. I was curious about, you know, I think that I'm going to go back to the first thing that we talked about, which is some of the challenges for people coming into this industry, being that's, you know, 100% commission-based industry, and also an industry where when the home ownership in your network is lower. Like, this is, real estate's an industry where you sell to your friends and your family a lot. Like, you sell to your sphere, you sell to people you know. So I was just curious about if, you know, there's a lot of, you know, new business models and teams and kind of different approaches, if that is something that is on your radar about companies that have like an employee-based model for real estate, or companies that base their business generation. You know, you always want to work with your friends and your family, but if they have programs for referrals or for internet leads or for working with other people, so that you could, you know, have an on-ramp. And I'm just curious if any of that has visibility into your member demographic, or if those are programs that we should be exploring and saying, how do we make use of those to create easier on-ramps for people in their careers?
Well, I certainly look forward to working with you on it, Jack.
Well, we were going to.
Okay.
Yeah, I have some thoughts there, because there's a number of companies that are now, they have an employee type model or a team model where, you know, people don't have to come in and be 100% commission based from the very beginning. And I think there's some real benefit to that. And we've seen millennials, especially, they like being part of a team. They like being part of a company. And so it gives them that place of belonging where they can then build their careers and, you know, really get a strong footing in real estate. So, but we'll definitely talk about it, because
I'm looking forward to it. Great.
Yeah.
You indicated that a Black person could not become a member of the National Association back in the 40s. And then you said it was as high as, or as far as 1964. Give or take a year, unless we have the dates exactly right, but that time, which is the 60s. I see somebody on our panelist chat column has just said that there are some local associations that did not allow Black membership as late as the 1980s, which again is a shock to me. If you think that I was already in my working career by that time. I was already adult by that time. As you said, Antoine, when you said, you know, it's going to be 2 generations, the 1980s is only 1 generation ago. It's still in my lifetime. I mean, I was young, but it was in my lifetime, which we had associations that did not allow people because of color.
I mean, I think, you know, sometimes as, you know, as African Americans, and I've studied race a lot of my life, like presented papers on slavery and religion and stuff like that. And so as African Americans, sometimes we don't like talking about the issue as much. We experience it, but it's a painful conversation. What people sometimes forget, there's still homes that are sold and they're not enforceable, that had deed restrictions on it, where people couldn't sell a house to a Black person. And this wasn't only in the South. This was in the North as well. And so, you know, Dr. King used to talk about a lot how, you know, it was in your, you know, race riots didn't only happen in the South. It happened in the North. He got stabbed first in the North. He got killed and murdered in the South. Okay, so the issue of residential segregation, it has been a major issue. When he lived in Chicago, and it's not written about a lot, but Dr. King was out fighting for fair housing in Chicago for the couple of years that he lived there. And so this issue about residential discrimination in housing, particularly on the ownership side, it's a legacy that will take a long time to close. We've made progress, but in Long Island, New York, last year in the newspaper Newsday did a story, and it showed that white real estate agents were asking people to show their taxes, their income taxes, before they would show a black person a house. And that's not new. There was this article 2 days ago where a guy was in Florida, white agent, went up to a black person who owned a house and called the police because he thought the black person was taking an advertisement for real estate out of his own mailbox. You can't make this stuff up.
That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable and sad that that is the state of affairs.
We have a lot of work to do, and that's why our motto in 1947, since 1947, has been democracy in housing. And it's not easy. And I tell you, as a staff person, someone who also does real estate, not to the degree that Mr. Williams does. He's a very successful broker. It's heartbreaking. You know, when you know people can qualify for a house, but they got to get the black tax rate, or they can't see a house because someone says the house isn't available, or they got to wait, and then by the time they get there, it's already taken. So there's a lot of things that still go on in the industry. And then you talk about how do people feed their family. It's a never-ending struggle because real estate, land in America has always represented power. You know, for years, for well over almost 200 years of American history, if you didn't own land, you couldn't vote. It didn't matter what color you was, especially if you were black, but it didn't matter if you were white or black. If you didn't own land in America, you couldn't vote. So land has always been a symbol of prestige and power in America. So that's why this fight that NARAB is involved with, trying to close that gap, is so important.
And we understand that when you vote, you make the law, correct? So right. we firmly believe that he who owns the land makes the law. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to gather our folks up, and let's own some land.
There are many well-known sayings which we all know, right? He who has the gold makes the rule. He who has the land makes the rule, right? He who votes the rule. So there is a legacy system that says this is how it works. Well, both of you, all I can say is from the bottom of my heart, I apologize for the feelings that you have when you talk about these uncomfortable subjects, and I probably can't understand completely because I'm white, but I do sympathize with it. I will tell you from a white side, it is on a different level, uncomfortable as well, right? We don't know sometimes where to look, what to say, what to do. We sometimes don't know how to not do something that doesn't maybe accidentally offend. But I think if we can do one thing from this call, and I'm sure there are many other calls that you've had which have been as valuable as this call, but if there's something from this call that I'd like to contribute or commit to, is to say, if we can step sort of across the aisle and we can say to each other, we both have a commitment to want to try, we want to make it better, and we're not always sure how. Help us, tell us, guide us, and we will give. I know there are many white people in this industry that want to see an improvement. They want to see something happen. And if we can maybe rally together and come up with some projects which we can work on together, some of the ones that you already have, maybe some new ones, and maybe we can get some, as you said, both time, money, effort, resources, initiatives, blood, sweat, and equity. I mean, it's all of that kind of stuff. But if there's a commitment to say, let's work together to make it better, maybe we can take a step forward, or another step forward, or another step forward.
That's fine. I listen to what you just said, and I just get angry that people are treated that way in this country. Yeah. It just makes me mad and makes me want to do something. And Stefan stated we're committed and we want to do something about it. And I've been talking about this for a while, and I want to see those resources. And the good news is you guys have not given a vague roadmap. You've said, here's the things we need. That's great, because if there's a shopping list of things that are needed, that's traction. I mean, that is just knowing what is needed and where support can be gathered from is a big part of having a plan that can be put into action. So I am looking forward to putting that plan into action, because I think there's a lot of talk, there's not enough action, and we want to see action. We want to be part of it.
We appreciate that, Jack. We really do. One other thing is that this whole we can begin to clear this up, right, with the African American home ownership program. We can get everybody on board, cross over the aisles, let's get it on board. Now, if I said that to you, say, oh, yes, you're pipe dreaming, you're daydreaming, but all I'm saying is that it's been done before. There is already a Native American home ownership program on the books. Yeah. It's already there. And we're saying, hey, we need to create one for African American home ownership because you can see the impact, the affect, and effect we can have on the economy and on future generations.
Yeah, that's good. There is a prior program. There's proof. There's a way to do it that we can put in. So let's do it.
Yeah, I wanted to say there was you have a ton of questions in the chat box.
Yeah, I see it.
I just wanted to mention just a couple of things that people have asked. One about Canada. We have a chapter that's starting in Ghana, West Africa. We've had chapters in Jamaica in the past. We would love to have a chapter start in our local board of our association start in Canada. I'm a Buffalo guy. I live here in Maryland now, but I'm in Buffalo all the time. So we'd love to have a chapter there. There was another comment about green lending. We know that that's a buzzword for millennials and that some state governments have created different programs to help people greening their homes, but also there's been some talk about a green mortgage product that's affordable and accessible. Part of the thing with all the Fannie and Freddie programs is making sure that the price points work well and that are comparable to FHA as well. But a lot of the good ideas you all were talking about, we'll take a look at as well.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, this is one of the most, I will say, from these, we've been doing these for weeks and weeks and weeks. This is one of the most active Q&A and chat that we've had on any of these. So there's a lot of material in here that people are suggesting for us to look at. So it's thank you for everybody that's participating today. It's meaningful. It shows that there's passion for this conversation.
And then we wanted to also recommend to some of the participants today on the call listening in, if they wanted to read something. I did a little bit of homework on my side. I have 2 books I'd like to recommend. And then I'd like to hear if either one of you may have some books that you'd like to recommend, people who would maybe like to just read more about the topic and just feel or understand the complexity. The books that I really felt had an impact was for me is How to Be an Anti-Racist by Kendi. And then the other one is So You Want to Talk About Race. So You Want to Talk About Race. Those are 2 that I recently got my hands on. Are there any that either one of you would recommend that people like to read about this topic more?
William, you want to go first?
Well, Mr. Rothstein's book, Color of Law. I mean, I would read that.
Yep, Color of Law.
Yeah, I would recommend. There's a new book that's hot right now. It's called Race for Profit. Good book, hot. I think it's gonna get a number of awards this year. I think that would be another good book. And then another book would be Color of Money. There's a book out there, the young lady, Michelle Singletary. She also writes, and I will give you 1/3 one. Good friend of mine from college. He has a book that's really hot right now as well. It's called The Black Tax.
Black Tax. That other one
by Sean Rochester.
Okay. That other one you just mentioned first, that name rings a bell. Is that the one that just recently won a Pulitzer Prize?
Yeah, she's been nominated for one.
Nominated for one. Race
for Profit, Dr. Taylor. I actually used to work for her dad for 3 years.
Look at Chris here. Look at Chris. Chris has been finding a lot of these books and popping them up for us.
He's picking up all the links. He's doing a good job.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Good job. Good job. Well, we said we were going to talk for about 45 minutes. We're around about at that time. So I'd like to give the 2 of you a sincere thanks from Jack, the rest of the T3 team, myself personally, and to anybody who listened in today. Is there maybe a takeaway message, a last message of any kind that you would like to maybe wrap up and share as we say thank you for your time and your leadership. And we will, from a T3 point of 60, most certainly reach out to you in the future and look for opportunities to work together. Donnell, maybe a closing comment on your side?
Well, thank you very much. And we're always looking for membership and support.
Membership and support. Everybody in the call, listen to that. Membership and support. Antoine?
Yeah, I want to thank you for reaching out and all that you do in the industry. And we'd love to see everyone on this call share the information and get involved with this effort to create more Black millennial homeowners. 1.7 million mortgage-ready Black millennials. Let's put them on the path of homeownership and get them off the sidelines. Let's make that commitment today. Thank you.
Great. Jack, on your side, a closing thought?
We got a lot of work to do, so let's do it.
Yes, we do. To the rest of you on the call, we are going to try and continue this discussion, at least for the next 3 weeks, publicly online, as we try and get some opinions from the other two leading associations as well. We will be talking to the Hispanic Association next Friday, same time, same place. And 2 weeks from now, the Asian Association, same time, same place. The goal, only very simple, to try and learn more, understand more, and then ultimately step up and do more. We thank you all for your time today. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you and goodbye.